Hello, Thriving Therapist. How are you guys? Welcome back to the Thriving Thursday Facebook Live series. I wanted to talk today a little bit about a subject that's very near and dear to my heart, which is mindfulness. And I thought I would start by telling you a little story. And this is a personal story, so I hope that you'll hear me with grace and no judgment. In 2002, I had a 1-year-old son. I was also working part time at the University of Michigan Hospital. That was 45 minutes away from my house, and I was working part time actually at Bon Secours Hospital, which was about 30 minutes away from my house. I was going to school at the University of Michigan at that time, which was 45 minutes away. So I was going in different directions every week for work or for school, and I had a 1-year-old child. I was losing my mind because I was in graduate school and I was working and I was a mom. And I decided what better time to apply to speak at a conference in Finland. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. But I did do that. I got accepted for it. And I brought my child, my husband, and me all over to Finland to speak at a conference. And right before I went on that conference, I literally hit the wall. I think I had what Brene Brown calls a spiritual awakening. It felt like a mini nervous breakdown because I'll tell you what was happening. Every time I was in front of my child, I was thinking about work. Every time I was in front of work, I was thinking about school. And every time I was at school, I was thinking about something else. I was never fully present and I was miserable. I was absolutely miserable. And I felt like I was failing at everything that I was doing, that I wasn't a good enough mom, that I was never going to be able to finish school, that I was never going to be able to do what I wanted to do at my workplace. And I felt like I was spinning out of control. So I don't know if anybody can relate to that feeling, but when you have your hands in too many pots, it just feels like you get burned. And I was really coming undone, and I decided it was time to go see a therapist. And the therapist at that time listened to my story and told me, "Oh, honey, you need to practice mindfulness first." And she said, "This is the fastest way to feel better tonight." And I was like, "Give me all your answers because I need it." And this was back in 2002 when mindfulness wasn't as big and hot as it is today, but she was a little ahead of her time. And I will never forget that night because she told me, "I want you to go home and I want you to just practice being really in front of what you're in front of." And so I thought, I got this. I'm a great student. I can totally handle this. So I went home and I had to do laundry. I had to make dinner. I had to write a paper and I had to return some work emails. And I remember her voice in my head, and she was like, "Just be in front of what you're in front of and just focus on using your senses to feel awake and alive in whatever you're doing, no matter how mundane." And so I remember that I had to move the laundry over, and I had hot whites in my dryer, and they had just finished spinning. And so my husband's a chef, and so it had chef coats in there and white t-shirts, and all these white clothes were in this dryer. And this was back in 2002, so how many loads of laundry have I done since then? Probably thousands. But this is seared in my brain like it happened to me yesterday. I opened up the dryer and I could hear my therapist's voice, and she was like, "Be in front of what you're in front of." And I was thinking about the baby, and I was thinking about food I had to make for that night, and I was thinking about the paper I had to write for school, and I was thinking about the emails for work, and I was just spinning again in a million directions. And then I brought myself into the present moment, and I looked inside the dryer, and there was this glowing light. You know, that little light that is inside of the dryer that is just like glowing and beautiful in there, and we take it for granted. And I looked in there and I could see all the clothes, and then I pulled and scooped them out, and I pressed my husband's white chef coats up against my body just so I could feel the warmth. And I smelled the laundry scent, and it smelled so fresh and so clean. And I just kind of plugged in to that moment. And I felt grateful, actually, and I felt alive. And so from that moment on, I started practicing mindfulness in a really intentional way. And it helped me stay present and connected to the things that really mattered to me the most. And so I want to encourage you guys to think about using your own tools to not only help your clients, of course, but to help yourself. And, you know, sometimes in these Facebook Lives, I'm going to be covering business and marketing tips. And sometimes I want to talk about personal ways that we thrive as therapists, because I think it's really important that we do both. And I don't think you can have a successful career or be a successful, thriving therapist without learning how to thrive in your own life and using self-care and mindfulness and meditation and exercise and nutrition and all these wonderful things are an important part, in my opinion, of how we thrive as a therapist. And when we can learn mindfulness and when we can teach mindfulness and when we practice it, it helps us feel alive and present and awake and plugged in and grateful and joyful, right? Because mindfulness is where the joy lives. But I will tell you this, it's not only helpful for us when we're looking for joy. Mindfulness can also help us expand into tolerating distress. Mindfulness can also help us when we think about tolerating being uncomfortable, which is a huge issue for most of our clients. And if we can help them understand that mindfulness can help us just breathe and center and be in the moment and feel what we're feeling, even if it's uncomfortable, then that's a win in my book. So I really wanted to bring that story to you today to help you guys revisit the idea that when you feel overloaded and maybe you're working at an agency right now and you're trying to build your private practice on the side, or maybe you have a thriving private practice but you're trying to scale and grow and do something else with it. Maybe you're also supporting your family right now. Maybe you're trying to support your children through whatever school setup they're doing. This is not easy. These are not easy times. And yet mindfulness practices can bring us back to a real sense of calm and centeredness. And I'll tell you, after I learned that little snippet from the therapist that I was working with at that time, I started practicing it everywhere. And whenever I started feeling like I was falling apart or just like spinning out of control, or I had too many things going on in my life, I decided to just breathe and take a pause and bring myself back to the moment. And sometimes when I did that, even when my life felt very, very busy, I didn't miss the moments. I was in front of my lunch, or I was in front of my son, or I was in front of my school experience, or I was in front of the patients I was working with at the hospital. And it was this amazing experience of really being present, connected, and engaged. And so remember, when you're practicing mindfulness, that you're working first to come into the now. And second, you're bringing yourself into the now by utilizing your senses. So you're definitely going to want to ask yourself to do like a sensory check when you want to practice mindfulness. And these are great tips to share with your clients too. These are easy wins. I'm a therapist, and that therapist that helped me was teaching me how to use mindfulness in that way. And it's something I will never forget. In fact, when I was taking a walk this morning, I went over to my local park, and it's beautiful. It's right on the lake. And I really plugged into the moment that was in front of me. And I was just like smelling the brisk fall air and noticing the color changes and lifting my eyes to the sky and getting off my phone. So I think there's a lot of ways that we can thrive, again, in our personal lives, and that will help us build successful, thriving businesses too. So if you guys have any questions or thoughts about this, I'd love to hear from you. And I thought I would come in and just give you a couple quick tips on why it's so important that we practice mindfulness too. All right, take care, you guys, and I will see you back here very soon. Oh, and I just wanted to mention also, The early bird registration for the retreat workshop that's happening on October 18th, the early bird pricing will end on Sunday, October 11th. So if you guys wanted to get in on that at the discounted price, take a look at it. It's pinned at the top of our page. It's all about how to design, build, and launch a successful retreat. So I hope to see you there. We've got lots of people registered, and I cannot wait to facilitate that workshop. All right, keep thriving, you guys. Stay in the moment, be mindful, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.